Broadcast Amsterdam. Ben Maxwell is joining me. Ben is from our lunchtime show. Ben, do you like football?
I am a huge football fan, mate. You probably don't know this about me, and it's not very in vogue right now, but I have a tattoo of a Premiership club. At least they're still in the Premiership after last season, and it's Manchester United. I've got a little Red Devil tattoo that I proudly wear, even if, you got to support your team winning or losing. The squad is the squad, right?
Yeah. Have you had that a long time then? Is that something?
I have, actually. Yeah, I've had it since I was in Philadelphia. I got it done in around 2005, maybe 2004, around that time period. Yeah, I became a huge football fan. I obviously didn't grow up with it, living in Philadelphia, but I did become a huge fan, and it just it happened when I went to a pub to start to get into the game, and all the people that were there, all of my mates, they were all United supporters. So I just kind of fell in with them. It happened kind of organically. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's unusual for Americans to love soccer. You normally say, do you like football? Oh, yeah, I watch the Super Bowl every year.
Yeah, exactly. Right. In fact, it's really funny because I just read the news this morning that the USA, who has the 2026 World Cup, they are going to be hosting one of the matches in Philadelphia. So it's pretty cool. Yeah,
it is. Well, there's also, on the flip side, when you have American football, there's some of those games are now played in London, which, having lived in London, always feels really weird to me, just thinking there wasn't that much of a following. But you see, Channel 4 in the UK, Channel 4 TV, they didn't have much content when they first started, and they put on a lot of American football. And I think a lot of people started to get into the American football. That was already from the 80s already, really. So,
well, it's really funny because it's funny you mentioned that, because when we were my wife and I were living in Denver before we moved here to Amsterdam, we actually took advantage of a direct flight from Denver to London, and we actually went to London. Mostly, really, the impetus for it was because the Philadelphia Eagles, the NFL team that I support, they were playing in London. So so it was really great. So we spent not long enough, obviously, in London and the UK, but it was really great because walking around the streets of London, we'd see a lot of Eagles fans, and what we say to each other is, we "Go Birds," and people respond, "Go Birds." So it's like this little handle that Philadelphians and fans of the football, the NFL team, really kind of go with. It was really, really cool.
And now it's been shortened to Go Tweets, because it's all about Twitter and tweets and short messages.
Yeah, it is crazy, isn't it? It's funny.
But you mentioned that when you moved here, that was a few years ago, and you've been doing our lunchtime show 3 times a week, really. That's been fantastic. Everyone's been loving that. But end of an era now, right?
Well, kind of. It's really kind of sad because, my wife is an international school teacher, and, through kind of some weirdness at the school, we kind of have to move on. So her position has been eliminated, and we're just going to have to move. And for me, I love doing the bit for Broadcast Amsterdam. I really had a great time. I want to thank Kathy and you and all the gang over there, who really made me feel very welcome and helped me a lot. But other than that, it's been really challenging. A voiceover business only pays so much of the bills, and we didn't have enough time really, or quite frankly, the bank account to kind of roll with it. We'd have loved to have stayed. We're getting rid of all of our stuff that we acquired here. I've got boxes stacked high that we're going to be shipping, and it's kind of crazy.
Oh, that's so sad, because it's when people do leave Amsterdam, and it happens, we're internationals, we move on. It's, normally people do it because they've got a great opportunity somewhere else, or because they are sick of it for whatever reason, right or wrong. But you're not. You don't want to go. That's really sad.
No, we would. I've tried really hard. It's been really challenging because even through, or probably maybe because of the pandemic, the job situation here in Amsterdam and in Europe in general was hit very hard. It was very, very hard. Companies were not hiring. They were freezing everything because nobody knew what was going on. And the timing probably could have been worse, because you can always say it could have been worse. But it was pretty bad, and it's really a shame. So when the pandemic started, I kind of knew right then and there that it was going to be even harder to land a gig, somebody with my skill set in media and broadcasting and just overall social media as well. It's really, really tough.
Well, it's a funny old world because you walk past every shop and every restaurant at the moment. Of course, they're screaming out for staff. So it's very depends on the sector that you're in at the moment, I think. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to continue to say, what do you have planned? I mean, do you have like a plan? Will we be able to tune in and continue to listen to our music to the max if we want to?
I don't know if it's going to be music to the max per se, but, because when we found out about this move, a couple of months ago, or more than a couple of months ago, my wife Jennifer had time to prepare, and we actually have a new job lined up, and it's a really good package and a really good compensation and arrangement that we've got going on. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be very challenging because the climate is radically different, but we're actually moving to Qatar.
Oh my goodness. I was just totally assuming that you were heading back to the States. So wow.
Yeah, we're heading back. We are heading back to the States for about a month. And then we move on to the next destination. My wife will be working for an international school there. And the best part about it for me is that I have lined up a position at an English language radio station out there called QBS. So I'm not quite sure what the show is going to look like right now. We're still in the preliminary stages of hammering that out and getting it to be where we want it to be. So the routine that you have to go through when you go to a different country, with the health checks and the police clearances and the certificates and the fingerprinting and all that stuff, some of it will apply to me. A lot of it applied to her because she's in education. But it's just a process. And, there's an opportunity there. Jennifer and I actually have conditional tickets to a U.S. men's national team football match in Qatar for the World Cup.
Nice. I was going to say, if you like the football as much as you just mentioned, then you must have tickets available for at least one match during the World Cup.
Well, right now, like I said, we've got it. So if the U.S. makes it out of their group, we will have tickets for the game in the round of 16. And the group, it also is shared with England. So there's England, Iran, and what's the fourth one? England, Iran, the U.S., and there was one other in that group.
You can't. Don't ask me. I'm terrible with the football rules. We should have asked Zach earlier. We get Zach back on. He'd remember it, I'm sure.
No problem. All right, I can't remember offhand. I'm a little too overwhelmed by looking at the apartment and seeing all the boxes packed up.
Everything empty and just standing in boxes. Yeah, and you're saying you've managed to sell a lot of your stuff off and stuff like that. It's just so depressing when you have to do that.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, because then you never know, what to keep, what to throw out, and you try to be, very specific as to things that you're going to be in, which pile they're going to go in.
Well, when we moved over here the second time, and we were happy to move here, but we had so much stuff over in the UK, we had to really downsize. And right. I remember at one morning, Robbie came back from having taken something to the charity shop around the corner for them. And he came back, he says, "You've got to come with me. Come on." And he dragged me along to the charity shop. Our entire living room seemed to be in the charity shop. It was very depressing as well.
Oh, yeah. It's especially when you know that it has to go from, like, at the charity shop. Since there's no real easy access for us, we sold our car, and transportation, wouldn't have been very advantageous. But to transport all that stuff over and to get rid of it, and then mostly you're like, just by the end of it, you're just so sick of it that you're just like, you know what, going to put it out on bulk trash day and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, exactly, bulk trash day. It's the annoyance to neighbours because people put it out far too many days in advance, but at least it's a good system when it works and it goes away.
Absolutely.
But Qatar is a very different regime to Amsterdam. I mean, will you adapt?
Well, the thing is that, I like to say that every place you go has its advantages and disadvantages, and it just depends upon which advantages you really can work with and enjoy, and which disadvantages you can work with and kind of put it all in perspective. I would say that it is going to be a huge challenge for someone like me and for someone like my wife to adapt and to remind ourselves that we are going to be guests in someone else's country and their culture. And it is not, it is not a full, actually probably is a full 180 degrees from life in Amsterdam. And it's going to be very challenging. And I'm glad that there's a little buffer zone for the U.S. That we'll have. But it still is going to be very, very tough. You know, I don't know what that's going to look like. I know that there is one store in the country where you can get wine and beer and booze. And also you can get like bacon. But there's only one shop that does it. Unless, of course, you count, you know, going to a hotel.
Yeah.
The nicer hotels, and there are tons of them there, the luxury hotels. They all have, you know, different drink specials and different drink nights and all that stuff because, of course, being a Muslim country, you know, there is no alcohol.
No, exactly. I was once in Pakistan where they have a fairly strict alcohol rule as well, but as a Westerner and a non-Muslim, I was allowed to register with a sort of license, and that license application had to include my father's name and occupation and all kinds of things. And then at the end, I basically had to say I required the alcohol for medical purposes. So I think that makes me a registered alcoholic in Pakistan. It's very possible. So we'll see. Anyway, hopefully you won't get that in Qatar.
Yeah, definitely going to be a little challenging there, mate. Definitely going to be a little challenging. But I am going to miss everybody here, and I'm going to miss the city. My wife and I have really fallen in love with the city, and this is a very, you know, unfortunate kind of event that it happens, and in that case, you have to make the best of it. I mean, the dogs are all ready to fly. We have a appointment at the vet to make sure they're going to make it, and it is our intention to take them there, even with the heat. You know, it is absolutely brutal. And of course, we're going to have to make the best of it because that's where the next vine in this jungle came from, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Life, and wherever life takes you in, it always tends to work out. I mean, sometimes you have your ups and your downs, but it tends to work out in the end because I know the route I've gone through life, you kind of think I never would have assumed that would happen, but here we are, and I'm loving it. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the case. And, you know, the door is always open for us to come back. And, you know, hopefully if things go well and we can kind of make it work, then this might be a place we'll come back to, you know, and give it another go. You know, I mean, it's a lovely country. It's a great city. Again, we love it here. We love the ability to travel and get around and to, you know, everything is so, or not everything, but 90% of it is very efficient. You know, there is the hiccups like everywhere, but again, you know, you got to find a place to be in life where the stuff that goes on bothers you the least. And that's
very true.
That's my motto in life. My motto is go somewhere mentally, physically, spiritually, wherever you have to be, that where the stuff that goes on bothers you the least.
Well,
and you'll be happy.
And Amsterdam is a very, very easy city, and I think it does tend to bother people. Not a lot here, so it's all good. Well, you never know that. So in that case, it may just be a break that we're having from music to the max. It might be, episodes will resume in a few years' time. Yeah,
we'll have to see how it goes. I hope it actually happens because that would be fantastic.
Oh, I hope it does as well. But meanwhile, good luck in Qatar. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck at QBS. Let us know the website address once you get your show sorted out, so that listeners can tune in when they're not listening to Broadcast Amsterdam, and catch up with what you're up to over there, Ben. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Chris.
I speak on behalf of everyone at Broadcast Amsterdam, and probably in the whole of Amsterdam as well. Thank you very much for the last few years. It's been very much a pleasure. So good luck, mate.
Likewise. Thank you, mate.
All right. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Broadcast Amsterdam.